Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this hearing. Ms. Kelly, I want to thank you for being here today and sharing your really powerful testimony about your personal experience and about the 9/11 family's quest for basic justice and accountability, as you say. I've worked with a number of the 9/11 families. You make reference to one of them, Lee Hansen, in your testimony, who is from Connecticut. Connecticut was particularly affected because we're close to New York, and many of our family members were there, as was your brother, Bill. And I've been so deeply moved and impressed by the efforts of 9/11 families to seek the truth about what happened on that day, as you put it, to seek answers to the questions that you've raised. A number of the families have sued Saudi Arabia, as you know. The Congress, in a very bipartisan way, Senator Cornyn and I have helped to lead efforts through JASTA to enable those families to seek their justice. You've done it very heroically through Peaceful Tomorrows. And I was struck by the reference in your testimony to the concealment, in effect, through the state secrets privilege, through classification of information that really belongs in the public realm. And this point has been a continuing one that I've tried to make. I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on what kind of answers you're seeking and how the overclassification and maybe the unnecessary and sometimes irresponsible use of state secrets privilege has contributed to the concealment that has really aggravated the injustice to your family.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I want to start by saying that the common ground that I've been hearing so far, and I've been listening very carefully, is adherence to the rule of law. And the common ground that I've been hearing about rule of law is that the military commissions, the rules for military commissions, do allow for pretrial agreements. So one way to get to many of the answers that we're seeking and one way to get to information would be a pretrial agreement, not where people are released, but a stipulation of facts to actually what occurred. And perhaps the ability of family members to ask questions. Could that be written into a pre-trial agreement so we could have our questions answered? The defendants would have to admit to what exactly happened and what their role was in the attacks. So I think there's a lot of large, complex questions before this committee, but I also think that there's a simple solution for the 9/11 case, and that would be pre-trial agreements, understanding secrets that are long hidden, and gaining information.
I think that point is so powerful because any of us who have been involved in trials or litigation or law enforcement know that one of the purposes of a trial, of any legal proceeding, is to get to the truth.
The truth.
To get to the truth of what happened in any kind of action that may give rise to legal responsibility. And what you're asking for is really one of the core functions of the rule of law, to seek answers about what happened and who was responsible for it, without the overlay of government censorship, in effect. And that kind of pretrial agreement, as you've said, would be a way to do it. And do you think that that kind of information or answers would be a source of relief to the families?
It's hard to imagine what the source of relief will be at this moment in time, but I would imagine feeling that I did right by my brother. I would imagine that I have, there'd be some resolution for my mother and father and for my children, and importantly, that there would be some sense of ending and resolution for this country, which I really believe we so desperately need.
Because you spoke to your dad before you
Yeah.
came here.
Always an interesting
conversation. A little bit more about what he said.
Yeah, I mean, my family is probably very exemplar of what most families in this country are about. You know, we have differing opinions and lots of different viewpoints, and some are quite loud. But this is who we are. This is what this country is. But what we did agree on is that there's a better way. There's a better way to get to some sense of resolution, and it's gone on too long. We all agree on that here in this hearing as well.
I was also struck by your reference to your family as a divided one
Yeah.
between Democrats and Republicans, and the reference to feeling right at home here because we're divided too. But I wish we were a little more like your family rather than what we sometimes are.
I won the family lotto. I come from the greatest family in the world.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Kelly.
Thanks, Senator Blumenthal.